franktalks.com.
Remember to sign up for the Coping with Loss newsletter and get weekly supporting messages to help you manage your bereavement, grief, and mourning. You are not alone. Sign up at franktalks.com now.
Check out the Frank Talks Relationship column currently running in the Suburban Newspaper online magazine. To read more, please visit www.thesuburban.com.
Relationships, sex, passion with Dr. Laurie Betito. Hear the show live weeknights 10 to 11 on CJAD 800.
Welcome to Passionate Show about love, sex, and relationships. Tonight, our regular monthly feature, we call it Dating Dilemmas. I'm joined by Frank Kermit, dating coach of franktalks.com. He's the best-selling author of several books on the subject of dating. He's the relationship columnist for the Suburban Newspaper online magazine and joins us here. Hey, how are you?
Hey, Dr. Laurie.
So welcome to Bell Let's Talk Day, which, of course, we've been hearing all day, and you've been hearing that it's about let's talk about mental health, mental illness, all of that, get it out of the closet, very, very important. And you still have time. The day's not over yet. Hashtag Bell Let's Talk on Twitter, or you can text. I mean, the money that they are raising is just, it's a wonderful, wonderful initiative. So, of course, we can continue to talk about that. And you know, we can talk about mental illness and dating. That's a big thing. We get asked questions like that all the time. I'm sure you do too. If I'm, someone who says, well, I know I've had this question. I'm a schizophrenic and I'm under control. Like I take my medication and everything else. However, I want to date. Do I have to tell the person I'm dating? What do I do? How do I deal with that? So that's a common question. Or I suffer from depression, or I suffer from something. And and they're out and they're single. How does one cope with that?
First, you have to decide if you're ready to be completely public about that information.
But why completely public? Public meaning talking to one person, or you mean?
Well, look, if you're going to tell every single person you go on a first date with private information about your mental health, you have to understand that being that open means that each of those people, each of those individuals may not necessarily keep that a secret if that's what your concern is. That's
a good point, because you haven't developed trust with that person yet, so
exactly.
You have no clue.
This is not someone that you've tested to see if they would already be open-minded to it. This is not someone that you even know if they have a prejudice against it. So if you're just going to say, look, right from the beginning, there's something you better know about me. I deal with this.
Okay.
Now, generally speaking, whatever it is that you feel is your biggest barrier to getting into a relationship, sometimes that is one of the best ways. Be honest about it, accept it, deal with it, be fully accepting of it, and just let everybody know. And you say, look, I'm okay with it, but if you're not, well, this can end here.
Right, and being able to say, I'm okay with it, and you don't want to lead someone on, not lead someone on, but you want to find out what their stand would be on it. And you don't want to be with someone who, A, isn't compassionate or doesn't get it or whatever else, or isn't interested in knowing about it, because not everybody, someone would say, I suffer from bipolar disorder, and then the other person has no clue what you're talking about.
With that said, no one is ever obligated to put themselves in a dangerous situation.
Of course.
If admitting that you deal with some kind of challenge, some kind of personal challenge, would put you at risk in the environment you happen to be in, you don't have any obligation to admit it to anybody.
Safe. Of course.
What you can do, however, is bring up the subject. Whether you want to talk about something going on in the media, a news story you read, hey, that celebrity just admitted that they deal with that thing. What do you think of that?
Right.
That way you can gauge that person's reaction.
Right. You can gauge that person's level of compassion, probably.
Exactly. Now, if the person turns around and says, I heard that story and I can totally understand it. I may not suffer it, but I know what it's like to, suffer with something.
Right. Or I feel so bad for that person, or whatever it is, right?
Exactly. Now you're dealing with someone who may very well be open to hearing your personal story. That's a way to test someone.
Right.
If that person turns around and says, "Oh, I can't believe it. This is ridiculous," and they start to,
or they're
bash.
just crazy, or they're just this, or they're just that.
Exactly.
Right.
Now you know. Well, this
You
is
don't
not,
want to be with this person.
this is not the person I would even open up to.
Right.
So you will end the date after that and
The
say thanks.
judgmental, right? This is where you see, is a person compassionate? Are they judgmental?
Are they dismissive?
We're dismissive,
They're
yeah.
just dismissing people's feelings, people's problems. It gives you an indication of how they're going to treat you.
Right. I remember, way back in dating years, where I had a conversation. I was just testing out. You talk and you get to see how people react to certain things. And I remember talking about working with transgendered. At the time, I was working with transgender population, and the person had such a biased, negative, judgmental view that it made me nauseous. Like I couldn't believe what they were saying. And here I was talking with compassion and saying, that I work with this population and they struggle and and they were going off talking, crazy stuff. And that was the end of the date. Never saw that person again.
Dodged a bullet.
Never saw that person again. And based on that, just based on what I
more do you need?
sensed from that, right?
What do you need if you're going to go out and try to find someone to be in a relationship in? You want to find someone that has common values.
Yeah.
And you want to find someone that's looking to build love, not someone that's looking to spread hate.
Right. And the level of judgment or the level of compassion that's certainly lacking in that situation. No, that obviously would not have worked. We will take questions. So I know, Frank, you put this up on Facebook so that people would send in questions, and people did.
Yep.
So if you have questions and you want to send them in by text, you can do that at 514-800, or you can always call in at 514-790-0800 and ask whatever question it is that you want. So here's one from Daniel who says, what should you do if she needs time to get over an older relationship, letting you know she wants you around while she heals? Is she throwing you off, friending you, or is she being genuine? Or ergo, is it being situational?
Generally speaking, if someone is struggling that much to get over an ex, your job is not to be anyone's therapist. You are there to be a potential partner. If the person is just using you so that that person doesn't have to be alone, not a place for you to be. My advice is go date other people. When she is ready, she can let you know.
So you don't have to be there while she's healing, in other words.
It's not your job to be there while she's healing. In fact, if you do stick around, all she's going to do is develop feelings of friendship to you. All those negative emotions that she's going through, she'll associate them with you.
Okay.
That's why the best thing you can do in that situation, if you really want to spend time with someone, is to say the following words. Stop. I'm not your therapist. When you're with me, we have fun, and then go out and do something fun. The idea is that you want to, for anybody, whether it's a man or a woman, you want the person to associate positive emotions with you. If all you're doing is listening to that person's problems, you're not necessarily associating positive emotions towards you. You're associating emotions of comfort, of friendship.
Friendship, right.
And that doesn't work if you want to make it a romantic relationship.
Right. And then you're also dealing with rebound. How do you know that this isn't just a rebound thing, that the person isn't using you to get over somebody else? I mean, I don't know if that's a bad thing, a good thing. I'm just throwing that out there.
The fact is you may not know. You never really know. You go in there, you take the chance. But in the case where they're not even dating, they just want someone to hang out with them while they get over this, no. You need a therapist, go see a therapist. But you do not use someone who has an affection for you in place of therapy. To me, that's unethical.
And also, for the person on the receiving end, you may not just want to hang around just in case.
No.
Like waiting. It's that waiting game. Why wait? Go and do what you need to do, but don't feel like you're waiting for... And then what happens when the waiting time is over and it doesn't work out the way you wanted? Then you're going to kick yourself saying, I wasted all this time and, I was waiting for you to get over it. So We can answer many more questions here tonight, so give us a call, 514-790-0800 for dating dilemmas here on Passion on CJD 800.
You're listening to Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito, the podcast. Hear the show live weeknights 10 to 11 on CJAD 800.
Dating dilemmas tonight on the program once a month. We have Frank Kermit in studio, and we are talking about dating issues. Also, if you'd like to talk about struggles with dating and mental illness for single people who may have mental illness, if you have a question for Frank, you can give us a call at 514-790-0800, or you can text at 514-800. Just reminding you that we are still, today is Bell Let's Talk Day, so hashtag Bell Let's Talk if you are on Twitter, or you can text, and money goes every time you do that towards this great cause. So another question on Frank's Facebook page: what do you do if you're dating a virgin?
What do you do if you're dating a virgin? Evidently, you probably won't be doing much of what you wanted to do.
Well, maybe not right away.
Maybe not right away.
And does that depend on, what about the age of the person? And
well, in this particular case, I believe the person asking the question was an adult.
Right, I'm assuming an adult, yes.
Generally speaking, find out why the person's a virgin. You have to find out what is the reason the person is a virgin. Is it a religious reason? Mm-hmm. Is it a cultural reason? Is it a belief system of waiting until marriage? Or is it simply a matter of never had the opportunity yet?
Right.
Once you find out the why a person is
and what,
virgin,
you ask them directly, hey, why are you a virgin?
Well, if it does come up, the question you have to ask is, are you happy being a virgin? Is this something that is important to you?
Is this by choice?
Why
Conviction.
are you a virgin? And yes, you would ask, why are you a virgin? You want to find out what the value system behind that decision is.
Right.
If it turns out that they have similar values to you, it's a good match.
Right.
If it turns out that the values that they're holding true to are not in line with the values that you hold true, that's the sign that the two of you shouldn't be together.
Although I have seen where one person says, I'm a virgin because I want to wait till I'm married, and then the other person, although it's not their value, felt that they would wait. That, okay, I love you enough and I want to be with you, and I will respect that, even though it's not necessarily my value.
It may not have been that person's value. However, they had respect for it. It's a value that they can live with.
Right.
You've
got to know if you can live with that.
Exactly. It's
right.
not a value meaning that I'm doing it for religious reasons and the other person's an atheist.
Right.
And they're saying, look, anything to do with religion, I'm not interested in.
Right.
Now you're dealing with incompatible values. That's the issue, not the virginity. Right. Virginity is a symptom of what the underlying value is.
Okay, so you'd want to find out the why.
Find out the why.
And then?
And then once you have the why, you have
to decide.
You have to compare that to your own value system, and if it's something that you can live with and accept, and if it's not, maybe it's time to say, look, we're just too incompatible here. I like you fine. I know you like me, but we're just not a match. And maybe it's better that I introduce you to one of my friends. You can introduce me to one of your friends, and we'll double date.
And maybe that will work. Here's another question. Why would a lady have sex with a man but refuse to stay over, i.e. she leaves after sex even if it is 3 a.m. and claims sleeping over is a big deal for her? So sleeping together is not, but sleeping over is a big deal. Okay,
there's two things here that we can go with. One, maybe she's not being faithful to someone.
Why would you assume that?
Because she has to get home.
Okay, maybe she just likes to sleep in her own bed.
Maybe, but at that point, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. By the time she gets home, it's 4, and if she's got to work the next day, it's 6.
So but her coming home at 3 or staying over, in terms of fidelity, I don't see where that
if she
matches.
Gets home before her husband wakes up, or if she gets home saying, well, I went out with... Listen, there's a difference between I'm going to go out and party with the girls and then coming home really late, and somebody coming in, the next morning? If she goes to bed and wakes up at 9 o'clock the next day, then she has to explain where she's been all night. As opposed to saying...
That would be your first assumption. That would not be my first assumption.
It's one assumption. Is it a guarantee? No, but it's the first thing I think about.
Really?
Why would the person...
So not the first thing I think
about.
Why
would the person that you're dating, that you're sleeping with, say, no, I have to get home because spending the night's a big deal? Is there somebody
sleeping
at home
over
waiting?
is a big deal. No, I would look at it differently. if you look at it from the casual sex perspective, having spoken to so many men who are perfectly happy having sex with you, but they want you out. They either want you out or they want to get out. So they're okay to have sex with you, but they're not. The message is if you sleep over and wake up the next morning together, that implies more relationship-y type of things. So that's more than, that's what I would think of way before I think of the infidelity.
I'm thinking along the lines, okay, there's an attachment issue there. Sometimes people who behave in this way, they stay the night, they start getting more attached. Maybe the other person, but look at the question here. The woman is saying, I can't stay the night, I have to go. This is not someone saying, I'm getting kicked out of somebody's bed. She's saying, I can't stay. It's
but I can't stay could mean I just can't stay. I can't handle that emotional attachment. I can't stay because, I just don't. I don't want that level of commitment. I don't want whatever it is. It doesn't necessarily imply I can't stay because I have a husband waiting for me at home.
It doesn't imply, but we have to look at all the different options.
It's a possibility. I don't think it's a probability, though. I don't know, and that's my thought. What do you think? 514-800. We'll put it out there. All right. Let's get our listeners to answer this. So, lady has sex with a guy. She doesn't want to stay over. What do you think is happening here? She says sleeping over is a big deal. The sex isn't a big deal, but sleeping over is. What do you think is going on? You're listening to Passion on CJD 800.
You're listening to Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito, the podcast. Hear the show live weeknights 10 to 11 on CJAD 800.
Dating dilemmas tonight on the program, and we asked the question, Frank is on here, and for dating dilemmas, why would a lady have sex with a man but refuse to stay over? She leaves after sex, even if it is 3 a.m., and claims sleeping over is a big deal for her. So let's see what Sandra has to say about that. Hi, Sandra.
Yeah, hi. I think it's more likely that because people have sex more freely outside a relationship, that they're too embarrassed to be seen in the morning, so therefore they go home before the sun comes up and they turn into a pumpkin. They don't want to be seen, with bad hair, bad makeup. You kind of want to get out of there while you're still looking good, so because you don't know the guy well enough.
That's right. You don't know the guy well enough, and that implies, I think, by staying over, maybe too much of a commitment. Maybe that's what somebody is experiencing. At least that would be my initial thought.
Yeah, too much of a commitment. Yeah, but the whole point here is they probably don't have that commitment.
Well, that's right.
They don't want to be seen not at their best.
It's intimate, right? That's exactly it. There's a level of intimacy when you wake up with somebody and you morning breath and the hair is
down, the bad hair.
That's right.
Everything's showing, right?
That's right.
The sun comes up.
That's right.
Like Cinderella staying after midnight. You could turn into a pumpkin. Gotta get out of here. This guy barely knows me. He's got to see my best side.
I am with you, Sandra. I think you are dead on right there. Thanks so much for calling in. Bye. Do you see, Frank? You don't know women so well. Sorry to say, but I'm sure other women will agree with Sandra and with me. Okay? I'm telling you right now. I betcha. Yeah, I'm sure.
Didn't Pink do a song about this, The Walk of Shame?
The Walk of Shame. It could be The Walk of Shame. Let's see if Rachel agrees with me or with you. Hi, Rachel. Who do you agree with?
Hello, Dr. Laurie.
Hi.
I didn't hear that much of the previous caller, but speaking from experience, I had a couple of girlfriends who had boyfriends who absolutely refused to sleep over, and one of them actually managed to talk him to sleep over. At 4 a.m., he wakes up. She wakes up, and he's getting into his clothes, sneaking out. P.S. In both these situations, they ended up following the boyfriend. Of course they had girlfriends. Of course.
Oh, so you're with Frank on this one. These are the guys, though. Very interesting. My argument with Frank was this is about a woman who didn't want to sleep over, and I said, what if the woman had a husband at home or a partner at home and was waltzing in at 3 a.m.? That's way too obvious. Women are sneakier when they have affairs, actually.
No, not necessarily. She could say she's out with the girls. If she has to leave at 3, she has to leave. Why does she have to leave?
Exactly.
Why can't she make an example? But, if someone is coming up with too many excuses as to why they can't do something simple to please someone who supposedly they care about, there's something.
I'm
fishy
wondering
there.
if she
Thank
really
you.
cares. That's what I'm wondering. The level of care is what I question. Thanks so much for calling in, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel.
All right, bye. You happy now?
Very.
All right.
So there.
News is, I'm going to ask David after. News is next here on Passion on CJ80.
You're listening to Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito, the podcast. Hear the show live weeknights 10 to 11 on CJAD 800.
Tonight it is Dating Dilemmas. Once a month we focus on dating issues. And Frank Kermit posted this on Facebook. So he ended up getting all kinds of questions on Facebook. And you can actually send them right in here, 514-800. Why would a lady have sex with a man but refuse to stay over, i.e. she leaves after sex even if it is 3 a.m. and claims sleeping over is a big deal for her? We both have kind of different hypotheses about this. I say she just doesn't want to get that involved or that intimate, even though, it's kind of paradoxical considering she already slept with the guy. But, I do think she probably doesn't want that level of intimacy yet. So as weird as that is, and that is a big deal for her. So sleeping over would imply maybe a serious relationship, and maybe she only reserves that for relationships. Frank thinks maybe she's hiding something. David, what do you think? Dave Simon, our producer. I want to know, as a guy.
Well, I don't know. I think it could be a lot of things. He might have a very uncomfortable bed, and she just doesn't want to sleep there.
Yeah, could be. Although she just says it's a big deal for her, so she didn't say your bed's uncomfortable.
Yeah, but she might be lying to him. And it could be the fact that his bathroom is disgusting. She might not want to get ready in the morning because his toilet's disgusting. I don't know if you've seen a single man's bathroom, but I used to live on my own, and it was
disgusting?
pretty gross.
Really?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think I might have to agree with you on that one. I was just having a conversation, in fact, with my daughter and her friends, and they were going over to their friend's house, and they're a bunch of single guys, and she says, "Mom, you wouldn't believe it's disgusting. The bathroom is gross. Towels on the floor. They're all using each other's towels, and yeah, it doesn't get cleaned too often. What's up with that, boys?
You don't want to get ready in the morning in that bathroom.
That's a good possibility. You know what?
Actually,
I hadn't thought of that. I think that would probably work for me.
Actually, when I lived on my own and I was enjoying my life with dating many women at the same time, I made it a point to have a very clean bathroom.
Because you knew that. You see, you had that figured out already, that women might be turned off by that fact.
You keep your bathroom represents your penis. The cleanliness of your bathroom is equivalent to the cleanliness of your penis.
I like that. That's pretty good.
It's one of the best ways I've learned to teach men.
Pretty funny.
And that's why my bathroom was always spectacular.
So women walked in and said, "Oh."
Women walked in. There were scented candles already lit.
Are you taking notes, Dave?
Right. I had all kinds of spare tampons and maxi pads and so on.
Okay, that's a little weird. That means like a lot of women have been in this bathroom.
Yes, and that's exactly the message you want to make, which is why it's clean.
David's shaking his head. Would you do that?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I had the same girlfriend for years. I don't think she would have liked that.
No, I'm sure not. 514-800. Here's another question for you. What do you do if you've had really, really bad experiences with men, but you are not attracted to women? Is it better not to date? Ooh.
If every person you have dated turns out to be a jerk, look at the common element in every relationship you've ever had. You.
That's true. So therapy
you're
in this
choosing.
case.
You're choosing to go out with these bad guys.
Or you end up with them unknowingly, that you are unconsciously choosing these bad guys too,
Okay,
though.
the first time, the second time, the third time, but when you're saying that every relationship you've been dating a jerk, come on. There's a lot of great guys out there that you've probably turned down and ignored.
Yes. However,
yeah.
there's an unconscious... This person is clearly unconsciously attracted to the jerky guys. She's got to figure out why.
All right, but in the meanwhile...
She's not doing this consciously.
But in the meanwhile, what can she do right now? You know that nice guy that you turned down recently because you're just not turned on by him? That's exactly who you should be dating right now, because you have to get used to being treated well.
Yes.
You need to see an example of, wow, this is what it's like to be treated well on a date. And you should date every single nice guy you've ever turned down. Call him up and said, I've reconsidered. How about a date? so you can get you get an
even
idea.
if you're not attracted, because you may be attracted to the bad guy, the bad boy.
Look, if you're one of the only ways you're going to break that pattern is to expose yourself to being treated well, and in time, some things may happen where that attraction can get triggered.
That's quite true, and I've heard of that in many situations. Rhoda joins us on the program. Hi, Rhoda.
Hi.
Hi.
I think you're all wrong.
Oh, okay. What's going on then?
She has children.
The guy has children?
No, the woman has children.
Oh,
she
that
wants
the
to
woman.
Go home.
That's very possible that she
But
has
then she
children
would
at
have
home.
said,
Or she has a child or children and she doesn't want to tell him.
But then she's hiding something.
Yeah, that's
so
true. That's not
right.
good either. Why? But why would she hide that fact that she
wouldn't
has
have
children?
Maybe it's a first date. Could it be possible that it was a first date, and she doesn't want to tell him yet? She wants to see how far it'll go. And I actually know somebody who did that.
Oh, really? Okay, you're talking from experience then,
Not
Rhoda.
my experience.
I know, but you're okay. Oh, well, listen, that's a hypothesis, right?
It is a hypothesis. From the nature of the question, I think it was a question of it happens over and over and over, and she still says, I have to leave by 3. I just can't spend
She
the
didn't
night.
say I have to leave by 3. She says it's a big deal for me to sleep over, even if it's at 3 a.m., even if it's whatever time it is. The woman says, look, sleeping over is a big deal for me. I don't want to do it.
Which is a lot more intimate than simply saying, I have to get home because I have kids. That's why if she's lying about the kids, if there's some deception going on there, then it's somebody I don't trust. There's got to be, she's lying about more than just the kids. But I do agree it's a possibility.
It's a possibility, although I don't think it necessarily means she's lying. But hey, Rhoda knows somebody who did just that, so it could very well be. Maybe that's the girl.
A long time, actually, before she told him.
Really, huh?
That's
But
what
she has to go
But
home to
why?
get the kids to school.
But why would she hide that fact from somebody that she had kids?
She wasn't sure of the relationship.
Okay.
She wasn't sure if she wanted to go on with it or how it's going to turn out, and she wanted to give it a little time.
She wanted him to get attached before he found out, because if he found out she was a single mom, he might have ran.
That's right.
That's also
Okay,
a
but to me, that's not fair, though.
That's manipulation.
Yeah, that's
Life isn't
fair.
fair.
Oh, that's an easy one, Rhoda. Life isn't fair.
Relationships aren't fair.
Well, it's manipulative, though.
This sounds like Liz
aren't
Jones
we
and
all
sperm
manipulating
stealing.
of each other?
No.
This is not acceptable. This is like Liz Jones and sperm stealing. Okay?
Hey, that happens too. There
Yes,
you go.
it does.
Rhoda, you're cynical. Okay.
But I like her. I like you,
I'm
Rhoda.
actually not a cynic. I'm a realist.
Thank you,
yeah,
Rhoda.
that's what all cynics say. Okay.
I like Rhoda. Rhoda, you call back.
You rock. All right,
okey-doke.
thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, no, I'm not cynical, just realistic. Or I'm not negative, I'm just realist. That's what you hear all the time. Oh, my goodness. All right, let's go on to another question. My problem is laziness in dating and not showing enough interest, which is a total turnoff to girls. How do I stop this from holding me back? How often do you see this as a problem? Is it laziness, or is the person like so overwhelmed that they kind of freeze?
I think that, look, overall, you're not going to let laziness not stop you, because laziness is the problem. But is it laziness? Or is this a matter of self-sabotage? As in, I don't want to put myself in a position where I might get rejected, so I'm just not going to try.
I'm going to play it so cool, and I'm not going to, I'm not putting the effort in to get to know you and to show interest in you.
Because if I do and it doesn't work out, that's an even worse experience than just doing nothing and nothing happening.
Right.
I think somebody's trying to play it safe, but doing it to such an extreme that you're not dating at all.
And then the girl, as he's saying, it's a total turnoff. Well, then you go right into the friend zone.
More than that, the girl might just be creeped out.
Okay.
Look, somebody who is around but not showing enough interest, that's not just turning off the girl. Why would a woman of any sort of value tolerate this type of behavior?
Mm-hmm.
She wouldn't. She'd be saying, if you're not interested in me, then don't hang around me.
Right.
You want to hang around me, not show interest? That's creepy. I don't need to be around this. I'll go to the guys that are at least making the effort.
Right. Coming up, we'll talk about another question for you here, Frank, about being too busy to date, which I think is the situation of many, many people these days, and especially of the 30-plus crowd who have may have crazy jobs, crazy lives, and long hours, and we'll talk about that. Yeah, or single parents. We'll talk about that coming up here on Dating Dilemmas on CJAD 800.
You're listening to Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito, the podcast. Hear the show live weeknights 10 to 11 on CJAD 800.
You got questions for Frank Kermit. He is in studio. He's a dating coach. He's the author of several books. Some of them are best-selling books on the subject of dating. He's the relationship columnist for the online Suburban, and he's here to answer your questions. And we get questions through Facebook. We get questions by text at 514-800 or 514-790-0800 if you'd like to call in or even just comment on anything that we've been speaking. If you disagree with me or with Frank, and sometimes Frank and I really disagree on things, and it's okay.
Yes,
we're allowed to disagree. We come from different perspectives, different approaches, and hey, there's not one answer to anything.
That's right.
To tell you the truth.
Laurie, you have your opinion, and I'm right.
Yeah, thanks. Get out of my studio right now. Lucky for you. This is my show, okay? So I get to decide. There you go. All right, here's a question for you. And this was posted. However, this is a question that I'm sure a situation that many people experience. How can I be expected to have a dating life when I work really long hours and I'm just too tired to date?
This is so common right now, where even in relationships where you have two people working and they're still struggling to.
Well, that's too tired for sex. Like, that's too exhausted to even have time together to even go on a date night or even on a sex night.
That's right. You had posted something also on Facebook about couples with young babies and the type of
Did you
sex.
like that article?
I loved it. It was like,
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
It's okay. It's temporary.
That's what I said. It's okay. It does get better.
But for everybody listening, if your work schedule and your career is not allowing you to date, you have to make a choice. One option, you may have to not necessarily put your career as a priority and make meeting somebody and going out at least once a week a priority. That's one option. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're not in a career or you're not in a position to do that, this is where you employ friends and family. This is where maybe you employ...
Where you let every single person that you know that you're looking.
More than that.
Okay.
You let them set you up. Meaning you block off that one night a week where you say, okay, Saturday night is my date night. I work 14 hours a day at my job, at my career. But that's the one night where I will agree to go out with whoever my friends and family set me up with. Maybe you even hire a professional to set you up.
A matchmaker. Yeah, that's a good idea, too.
The idea is, I don't have time to go out and meet people.
That's what matchmakers do, and they use a lot of professionals. Like, they end up matching up. A lot of professionals use their services.
Well, but the professionals are the people who need it the most. Because they're eligible, they're willing, they're looking, but they don't have the time to just date randomly. They want to have at least a narrowed focus and then present it with somebody saying, well, this person has a number of the attributes you're looking for.
But then I question, would I want to date someone who was working that many hours and could only give me like a limited amount of time?
You would if you were also somebody who was career-minded and also didn't have as much time to donate either.
Yeah, that's true.
So you're looking for like-minded people who maybe early on in their careers, they're entrepreneurs looking to build an empire. They're looking for someone who understands, someone who can keep themselves occupied with their own passions so that you can support one another instead of always having someone that feels like they're being left out.
Makes sense. 514-800 or 514-790-0800. Sometimes using matchmakers are a good thing, and we've had one on the program, Natasha, who does an excellent job of that, and she's quite successful, I think, in Montreal.
She's also very ethical, absolutebachelorclub.com, and I'm happy being the coach of...
You're the official coach of that.
I am the official coach.
That organization. That's good. And that's what I like about it, actually, is that you end up having to... You're coaching people, so you're getting them all ready for it. So it increases success rate, right?
It's not a blind introduction where you're just putting two people together and saying, okay, let's hope. I work with that client base very intensely, by the way.
Okay.
This isn't just a matter of
meeting them for half an hour.
No, this is very intensely now. We're talking coaching programs to make sure that when they're there, they're not wasting anybody's time, including their own.
Okay.
When you're dealing with professionals who really just don't have time to waste, that's the investment.
Right.
That's the investment that's worthwhile.
Right. Yeah, and it works for a lot of people. That is exactly what works.
Mm-hmm.
Coming up, we'll talk about people who are hung up on their exes again. Maybe we'll see if there's any other questions that come up that we want to talk about and address here on our dating dilemmas with Frank Kermit. You're listening to Passion on CJD 800.
You're listening to Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito, the podcast. Hear the show live weeknights 10 to 11 on CJAD 800.
Dating dilemmas tonight on the program. Frank Kermit is here answering your questions about dating. So here's another question that came up on Facebook. I'm trying to date the old-fashioned way, date by date, allowing a relationship to grow intellectually, spiritually, and mentally before going to the physical part. Except it seems guys just want to move on to the next like they get. It's very frustrating, and nowadays trying to meet someone in this fast-paced age. What is a good progression? When guys ask me for a second date at their place, it's not right. I know what they mean. Timing, gents, timing. Men have forgotten how to take time to allow relationships to grow. Has our digital society really creeped into our personal way of living? That's a very interesting question. And
very
dilemma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very interesting. First of all, let's change the perspective here, okay? This person is saying, it's not right. Hold on, it's not about right and wrong. You have a preference for the way you want to conduct yourself. Just because
She's saying, I want the old-fashioned way.
Right, but to say that doing it any other way is wrong or not right, she's putting herself in an adversarial position.
Okay.
Okay, you've got to get rid of that mindset, because she's going to turn away people who might actually be willing to experiment with this with her.
So, in other words, if a guy says, come over to my place, second date, she should be able to say, I'm not ready for that.
What she should say more than anything else is to be genuinely honest. I'm actually looking to date in an old-fashioned way. Set this expectation right from the beginning.
Right, I don't want to move so fast.
Now, I also have a question here, because there's, I can't know more than what's being presented.
Obviously.
Does she have a history of doing the exact opposite? Does she have a reputation that these guys are dating her now are expecting, and then when they're being told, no, you have to wait, these guys are taking it as an insult or an affront? I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
She doesn't sound that young to have a reputation.
Well, the fact is that if she's still dating a lot of these guys who are like, come on, let's, hey, second date. Second date at his place isn't a bad thing. What she needs to do, though, is drop the attitude that it's wrong and reach out, not taking it personally, by saying, if the guy asks, look, I don't feel comfortable coming over to your place at this time. And use exactly the words here. I want our relationship to grow intellectually, spiritually, and mentally before going to the physical part. And if I come over to your place,
and that you can say.
If this is her boundary, that's okay. But it's up to her to communicate that. And I would advise communicate it on the first date.
Right. Let somebody know this is, okay.
Communicate it on the first date. If somebody is not in line with this, don't expose yourself to that kind of rejection. Don't expose yourself to this kind of hassle. Look for somebody with a similar value who's willing to say, you know what, I actually like the sound of this.
Right. Yeah, let's try that.
And number two, chances are, if you're only dating guys that want to jump into the sack quick, well, you're the one who's choosing to accept dates from these particular guys. Are there any guys that you rejected that would have respected this, but you weren't willing to give them a chance?
Right. But then you have to figure out why. Right. It's all about that.
Yeah.
Frank, thanks so much. And I should say, Frank will be in studio. Actually, you're filling in for me on Monday on Barry's show.
I'll be on Barry Morgan's show.
And you're also filling in for me on Tuesday. Next week, I will be away, and Kelly Alexander will be sitting here. And Frank will be her guest on Trouble Tuesdays. So you'll be answering relationship questions. You can save the sex questions for me the following week, but you can answer the relationship questions for sure. And so he'll be back again next week on this program. Thank you to Dave Simon in Master Control, and thanks to all of you for tuning in and sending in your questions. And this will be available as well as a podcast. So if you missed any answers, you can always check it out there. If you need to reach me, it is passion@cjaed.com or through my office at 514-984-5910. You can also go to my website, drlaurie.com, or on Twitter at Dr. Laurie Betito, or on Facebook, or on Instagram, and everywhere else. Oh boy. Next up on CJAD News, followed by Joey Elias and The Comedy Show. Have a great rest of the night, and please remember, life is short, so do take the time to smell the flowers and indulge your passions.
Listen to Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito, live weeknights 10 to 11 on CJAD and CJAD.com.
Need help with love, sex, dating and relationships? Visit frankdocs.com.
If you need help with your relationships, my buddy Frank, he's got some tips. Just go to franktalks.com. His advice is better than your mom's. He knows what you're going through, 'cause Frank has been there too. So log on to franktalks.com. franktalks.com.
What do you do when you feel like a fool? When your heart has been broken again? Pick up the phone or get onto Skype and talk on a private session. Yeah, get a little help from Frank Talks. Whoa, whoa, get by with a little help from Frank Talks. You gotta try a little help from Frank Talks. What do you do when your love goes away? Try coaching one-on-one. How do I sign up to turn things around? Just sign